Here we go, friends, for another video. This is Walder, Johan, illustrator, character designer and comic book artist, living now in Tokyo. So here we go, there is all the hype about the famous Copics marker, and here I just got my hands on my first little set. Already here some people saying, well, it's not the tiniest set there is, but well, I thought I wanted to start off with enough so that I can work. So I got myself the 30 color pack, and to me, from what I've seen, it's my favorite looking in the sense that there is all the colors you may need. So I'm gonna put that to the test on a piece. Let's see how it goes. Okay, we are at my desk. Here we go, friends. So, just as a little disclaimer, I do own a few Copic prior to this little box, but I haven't used them much, if I must say. The only ones, though, that I did use a bit were those ones, which are the gray tones ones. And it would seem from the video that I've been looking online on our other friend's channel that the gray Copics might be a very good start, because basically you don't have to worry with color, so it makes it a bit simpler, but you still can work on the shading, the mixing, blending of the colors. So here we go, let's open the goodies. Okay, so first thing off, I find the box very colorful. I mean, obviously you'll say, but it looks like bonbon, it looks like candy, it looks very good. Almost like, you know, I want to pinch them and eat them. So let's open this guy. One little thing also that I appreciate here is that you get the box. It may not seem like much, but to be honest, having a little box to sort them out is pretty neat. Actually, as I said, I live in Tokyo now, so one good thing about this is that Copic markers are much cheaper. I don't have the exact price in mind, but I think it's about 400 yens, which come to around $4 and, well, around 4 euros, I think. So this box, if I am correct, was around $130, something like this. So I think it's much more expensive if you live in the US or in Europe. Okay, so first off, plastic is crappy. Sorry about that, but that's my first impression. I mean, okay, I'm being maybe a bit harsh, but yeah. It kind of holds. I mean, it doesn't really matter, right? But, okay, so this box definitely gonna break very soon. And yeah, that's it. Okay, otherwise, let's see what we got here. So just as a reminder, this is the basic 36 color set. All right, so we have like, okay, so also one little thing, I've been online a bit like a maniac. If you can see, I'm still on it. Here I'm on Japanese website, but I've been mainly searching in English for like how to Copic videos and so on. You have two tips on this guy. So these guys, I didn't say that it's the sketch one, because you have other ones. These ones, I forgot the name. I think it might be like the classic or something. See, this guy, I burned it. How did I do that? I don't know. Anyway, these guys, they have two tips. There is the broad guy. That is, okay, so you see this one, I've used it. It's a bit dirty and the nib is kind of broken. So, but you have this broad one, and the other is a thin one to be very precise. You can even draw, you know, like straight line, I'm guessing. But I'm not using this one much, I must say. Here you have the number, like we said. And these are also the new ones, the sketch ones. And from what I've gathered, these are the best one to get, especially for this nib here, which is a bit like a brush. And you can go very thin with the edge, and then, you know, if you press it let's see on paper, if you press it a bit harder on the paper, it's gonna bend a little and allows you to do bigger stroke, obviously. So that's it for the Copic shape itself. One thing very important to talk about is that, okay, so you got your set, or you got like, you know, 2 or 3 little markers to start off, which I think is a good way to go about. What's the point, you know, of spending 200 bucks if after 2 weeks, you know, you're like, well, I don't know, I'm not really into these guys. That's a bit of a waste. So I would say just buy a few to try out. As for the advice on what to buy, I would go with the gray. Obviously, gray, you can do a lot of nice things, and most designers, they use these guys to do rough sketches and put the shadows in. If you don't get the grays, you might want to go for a triad of colors. So basically, you take 3 of the same letters or similar. You see, this is red, violet, and then you have red. Or here you have yellow, red, yellow, green, etc. And so basically you take same letter, let's say this blue here, and then you take 3 of the same color. Why would you do that? Because then for the blending, once again, I haven't done that yet, so I'm talking from other people's point of view. This is how you blend stuff. There's also a colorless blender, but from what I gather, this is not necessarily the best tool for blending. The blending itself is done by laying out light color, coming on the light color while it's still wet with the medium color, and then you can mix with the darker color. Just like with painting, huh? It's nothing very different. So that's what I would go. Maybe 2 gray, you know, 1 light, 1 dark gray. And then 3 colors of your favorite tone. And with that, you know, you can already do a lot of illustration. I mean, look, manga, it's all in black and white anyway. One other thing I've been trying to do is, once you have your colors, let's say I have this dude, red, violet, 0, what happens when it's empty? You've been working a bit. It apparently takes 2 full A4 to be completely empty if it's well charged. Meaning you have your A4 paper, this is not A4 but doesn't matter. Your A4 paper, you paint it completely, second side completely, and then you have one more side, and that's pretty much it for the full pen. So imagine if you have to throw it, that'd be a bit of a waste. If you hear some screaming, by the way, this is my kid. The joy of parenthood. So you have your marker, great, but then next step is to get the recharge, the refill ink, and this is as important as the marker itself. So basically you look for this number and you put, you know, Copic ink on Google, buy in your area. So, you know, you have of course Amazon, eBay, etc., or your retailer. And then, you know, I think this one I don't have it, but just as an example, I'll take a random one. This one, this is light tea rose. That sounds fancy, but it's a red 12. So I have my marker red 12 somewhere maybe, and basically that's it. So this is your recharge. By the way, these are the old ones. You see, it's Copic various ink, and now they just changed the brand. And I'm sad to say that the new ones are almost half of this in terms of quantity. I think these ones are like 22 milliliter. Let me see if I can find it. I don't know, am I doing a great job as presenting those guys? I mean, I haven't been paid, it doesn't matter, but well, anyway, I'm not saying the milliliter, but I think it's 22. And the new ones, if I remember, they are like 12, and they're almost the same price. Not exactly, but to be honest, this is definitely a trick. So what I've done is I've rushed on internet and I've looked to order as many of those dudes I could. So if you're still watching this video in 20, you might get some. If you're in 2020, you might still be able to get those various ink. So that's what I got my hands on. I could get a few, and those are a bit cheaper than a Copic. So it's very interesting. Honestly, it's very useful. This is the best thing I think about the Copic, is that you can refill them. Just as I explained, you see you have the color, so you just look at your marker and look for the same number on the ink, and then you can refill them. They have a little nozzle tip that you just insert inside your Copic. I may do this later. So this is the various ink. You may still find them on eBay, Amazon, etc. If you can, really recommend buying as many as you can. Of course, in regards to the Copic you have, no point in buying 300 filling if you have no Copics. But then again, as a starter point, I would really recommend either you get a little set like this if you can afford it, because as I said, it's more than $100. If you're still student, for example, well, this can be a lot of money. But then again, you know, some people complain about the price, which I totally get, you know. I was there too. But then, you know, you have those people who have like a PlayStation 4 and, you know, 10 games or something, and they're like, oh, bitching about, you know, I can't buy Copics. So yeah, you know, you choose your priority at some point. Okay, I'm being a bit mendo here, but hey. Alright, so that's it for the little presentation. Let's move along and let's get some paper and try some blending. Okay, so let's go, friends. So now we're gonna try a bit those guys, and mainly how to blend, because apparently, from what I gather, this is the big thing with those Copics. So first info I got is that the number in terms of, you know, clarity or darkness has to do with those numbers, as I explained. And if you want to do very simple blending, in the sense that it's easy, you want to try to have the numbers not too far apart. So you see, let's say you have this E11 and this E13, for sure they're gonna blend super easily because they're close by, but then they won't have a very strong gradient, right? So here on the other hand you have a E00, which is much brighter, it's very subtle. And if we blend with the E11, the blending is gonna be much stronger, but maybe a little harder to do. All right? So that's for the basic, and of course you can blend any color, meaning this is like the easy way, which, you know, if you have a lot of Copics. But then what happens most of the time, at least for the few months or years when you start Copic, is you may have like totally different colors. But actually with the ink and the alcohol, they're gonna mix anyway. It's just you may not have like such a smooth gradient. It may be a bit rougher in between, right? Between the two colors. But that's all it is, so it's not a big issue. So I've prepared a little table, kind of, not really a table, but a little sheet of paper. Basically, to do this for yourself, you can just draw a few squares. Grab your Copics, and we're gonna do together this little work. So first, I put a few pens to the test. So very important is to know what pen to use, right? So we have Uniball, which is a very basic, simple ball pen. We have the Pentel brush, and this one is one that I know a lot of artists are using. It's this brush that basically has cartridges inside that you can replace, and so you can make thin lines and very broad lines. So some artists, they do a full comic with this. Simple pencil, I've been for a 2B. It's slightly softer. Then we have the Sakura Micron. This is what I use personally for my illustrations. It's just thin liners, and the Copic, the brand itself, has Copic multi-liner. If you can get these, obviously, since they're made for Copics, I'm pretty sure they work super fine. So let's see how that goes, all right? So I'm gonna start with the Uniball. So from what I hear, the yellow is, quote, the worst color, in the sense that's the one that gets the most dilution or dilutes your lines. Okay, so I'm gonna basically take a yellow on purpose and see how it goes. So this one is the Y08, but it really doesn't matter. So let's see for the Uniball. It would seem that it's super fine. Actually, I'm a bit surprised. I thought, you know, it'd be like smudging all over the place, but it would seem that this super simple guy is holding fine. Sorry guys, I got a truck outside. So the Pentel brush pen, this is definitely ink. So this should hold, let's see. So yeah, this is holding super fine. All right, so you see I'm going for it, so it's really holding well. The pencil, what I know from experience with watercolor is that it's gonna get a bit grainy. Especially I took on purpose a soft one, and it's, oh yeah, this is really bad, you see? It's pulling everything. Yeah, forget the pencil. All right, so pencil, you can already forget. One option may be to fix it with a spray or something, but then again, maybe the spray will then prevent the Copic from working well. All right, the Sakura Micron seems to be working very fine. No problem here. And then the Copic. Imagine the Copic doesn't work. That'd be a fun joke, right? All right, so this is great. So I'm actually pleasantly surprised. Everybody's working super fine. So Uniball, we're good. Pentel, we're good. Pencil, forget it. Sakura Micron, we're good. And the Copic, we're good. So for the pens, you have broad choice. Also, one thing, you always want to have a paper under the one you're using to draw, because it tends to go through. If I show you like this one, see, I've done a little swatch and it's going through. So basically it's gonna come through. So have some cheap paper under. You don't want to do is go like super quick, and you know, every time you push it down, up, and then you push it down again, because every time you go down on the paper, it's gonna make this slightly bigger mark. And then, you know, change angle, come over it, like So this is a no-no. Other thing, try avoid this movement. It's not too bad. It's kind of like the pencil filling in with, but then again, you see here we get this in between shape. So what you want to do is try to be regular with a little circle like I've shown here, super tiny. It's basically little circle after little circle. So start off here, let's say, and then I'm gonna go with the circular motion like this, but a bit smaller. And basically every time I come back, it's gonna feel what's not been painted. You could also, you know, just do little zigzag, but you have to go then very slowly. See, like this. But then again, you see this zigzag, it kind of works, but if you compare with the circle, there's definitely less ink going in. And then when you're on the borders, obviously you go straight. So as long as the paper is wet, you can come back over what you may have already done and it's gonna mix, no problem, because the ink is still going through the paper before getting dry. So you see a little circle, we go, and every time you see here it's a little bit too white, you just come over it. And we are happy. So that's pretty much working, you see, guys? I'm going on the edges again, and then little circle, and I rejoin what I've already done before. And don't necessarily rush out to correct everything right away, except if you have, you know, like here it's a bit too bright, I can come over it. But if the, okay, let's say I'm good. I don't know if you can see, but it's not perfect. There are a few areas that are still a bit brighter, but normally as it dries, it should even out. So you see we've definitely gone through. So that's the first thing to be mindful of. So little circle shape. So I'm gonna leave it to dry. So it might be a bit tougher. So first off, before we blend them both, let's see with only one color gradient. So we're gonna try to go from very dark to light to paper. So here, if you see, I've done this little pointy thingy that could look like a saw. It's the order of the strikes. So basically first we're gonna start on the top here and do a little bend here like a rectangle shape. But this time, not with the circle, but little swipe kind of. So you put down and you swipe. Put down, you swipe. Put down, you swipe. Put down, you swipe. And what it does is that you have more ink at the beginning here and far less at the swiping bit here. So basically that's already doing a natural gradient. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna do those swipes a first time, you know, the all first line, then we're gonna come over a second time, but this time going further until third time until the bottom. Okay, so here we go. So first I put down, I drag a bit, then I raise. Be sure to not leave space in between. Well, if you do, sorry, no issue, you just come back. You know, it's quite funny while I'm doing this, I'm kind of getting a little almost tense because you tried to do this well. Okay, so first, so I've been a bit further than I expected. We go, but again, now from the top. Remember, it's gonna overlap. So we go down, and this time the swipe only at the end. So as you see, we are covering the previous one, and they should add up. Again here, I'm using the sketch model. I think, I'm not certain, but I think if you have the Chow, the smaller one, I think you also have it. And if you have the original, you don't actually. if you got the square ones. So then in that case you have two options. You can practice with this one, which I think would be very fine, or you can buy nibs. So basically the spare guys. So just look for Copic nibs, and there is one for the sketch ones. Doesn't matter. So I'm gonna swipe at the end, and just as before, I'm gonna cover from the top again. And I can already start to see that it's definitely doing a little gradient. So it's much deeper beginning, slightly here I can feel, and then the end. Lighter color of the two. Remember, same letter. Okay, here we go. Swipe, swipe, swipe. And down. Here we go, guys. Alright, so be sure to go beyond the middle. Alright, very nice. If you have a few spaces here and there, you can cover it. Don't overdo it though. So that's it. Ideally, you want to work fast while the ink is still wet. So now I take the darker one and I'm doing exactly the same, but this time upward, okay? Okay, I'm doing my swipes. To be honest, it looks like it's not mixing extremely well. Basically, I'm following some exercise from a manga book. So let's see how it goes. They're advising to come back with the medium color in the middle to kind of mix it in terms of the ink. That seems to be doing the trick. Alright, so I don't want to overdo it. Let's see how it goes. So one thing to notice is that this is not the ideal paper. So this is also something I haven't discussed, is paper. For Copic, paper is a very big thing, except that for now I don't have any good paper. I've just ordered it, but basically I'm using, this one is, I would say, around 180 gram per meter square. This wonderful book, which actually I'm gonna show you guys because anyone might be interested. So this is the book I found here in Japan. Okay, so if you write this, you should find it. Hajimete no. Oh, sorry. I wrote this in Japanese. No, I'm getting too used to it, which is a good thing, but yeah. Write this, maybe even with the Roman alphabet on your Google, you might find it. If not, try to turn your computer to Japanese and write this on your keyboard, and then it should turn to these guys, okay? So what I wrote is this bit here and here. It shows you, little line colors, and then what's different when you change the color of the line in the illustration. You have a few little example of illustration. Then this is what we are doing basically, is this dude here. So the little swipe, here you go up, and then you do the zigzag in between. There's a few other ways to do the gradient directly with the ink. Basically you pour the ink directly on the paper. Sorry dudes, but I'm not gonna do this one because it's gonna spend a lot of ink and I'm not too crazy about this. Then you have little patterns, illustration step by step. Again, on YouTube you have enough people doing it, and this is what we've been doing. So we've done the little circles to get the surface. With the first one we did little gradient, mixing two colors. That's it. We're done afterwards. Alright, so I'm hoping this was of interest. To down regularly, and I do a light swipe at the end. No need to rush. You want to be sure that you're doing an even mark with the marker. Now I'm gonna switch. Remember, you have to continue doing this while the ink is wet. Otherwise, this time we go up. Otherwise, it may not mix at all. And I am suspecting that this is the issue I'm having, is that the paper is drinking the ink so fast that basically the ink is not wet at all in the end. And basically, okay, the blue, and basically at the moment that my two colors are mixing, they're already dried, which turns into them not mixing at all. Yeah, I'm hoping this is it, because otherwise I'm just crappy at this. And now they're advising to do a little zigzag with the previous color. So let's see what this feels like. Okay, so I'm doing the brown, now I'm doing the blue again in the other direction. All right, so this seems to be working a bit. And then I'm gonna try the green again from the top. But yeah, I think basically I have found the main issue. I think is that it's drying too fast. So the ink is not mixing at all. Okay, I'm going like a maniac now. Okay, so now I'm totally not following anything. I'm just going back over them. But it would seem that this is the good way to go. I'm switching back and forth between colors and every time trying to mix them a bit at their kind of limit. And then I'm doing a last little up swipe, and then I'm gonna end up with the down swipe from the green. Okay, so this is not completely probant, it's not completely amazing, I think. And now we're gonna try the little colorless blender. So this is one you should definitely have. Colorless blender. You can also buy it separately if you don't have it in a set. I'll cry after the video. Okay, so here we go. I'm doing my big circle with the colorless blender and then swipe, and I'm doing my little circle with the color. And what you want to do is you don't want to go until the end of the color blender area, otherwise it won't work. Okay, it's definitely working this time, so I'm very happy about that. So basically the edges are getting a bit softer. Now I'm going to do the opposite. It would seem that it's working the other way around, meaning if you've already done your little color, you can come around it with the blender and it should do the same thing. So again, let's see. So I'm opening both guides. I'm taking another color, by the way, just for interest's sake. All right, so I'm gonna do, okay, let's do something else. I'm doing a triangle this time. Again, you wanna work so that it stays wet. So you see for now, my lines are pretty clean and sharp. And now I'm going with the blender, just this time on the edges only. And I'm gonna go around this dude, laying down a bit of ink. And then when I'm done, I stop. All right, so it's definitely softening the line as well. Very nice. They're not crisp anymore. They're getting blurry, so this is definitely working. From what I can gather already, this blender is also doing another thing, is that it, how do you say, it kind of bleaches the ink. It makes it lighter. And this time, instead of doing the edges, I'm gonna go inside. So I'm gonna do a little, little square. Doesn't matter there. Okay, I can already see it. It's taking, it's almost like an eraser. It's interesting. It's totally lightening up the ink. Yeah, definitely working. Okay. And I'm not satisfied with this dude at all. I'm gonna cry, guys. It's so bad. Oh la 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 la, it's a catastrophe. It's a catastrophe. Gee. Nah. Okay, I'm hiding my shame. Alright, so I'm gonna do a pattern. One thing I did enjoy in this book that I didn't think of myself first about working with Copics is to have fun with pattern for clothing. Of course, it doesn't have to be only for clothing, but yeah, this is here. You see those, guys? You have a lot of different idea of patterns. So again, have a little look. Little square, heart shapes, lines, dots, etc. So they're very pretty and cute. And obviously, again, feel free to, you know, be inspired you have the step-by-step how to do them here, but mostly it's just the concept of doing little patterns like these, either for the back of your image or directly on the clothing. Again, choose which color you feel like using. Alright. To be honest here, I don't have a particular design in mind, just for exercise sake. And just, you see, I'm doing straight lines, but if you go twice on top of it, it mixes really, really well. Now I'm doing a kind of straight line, it doesn't really matter. Alright, so this is the color I'm going for. Anyway, it's pretty fun. I mean, it's really the beginning. I can feel it for colors. I mean, I'm used to do watercolor, by the way. If you check my older videos, there's a few ones in French where I'm presenting different pictures, and it's definitely a bit different how it works, but it also does bring some similar use, definitely for the mixing, for example. Okay, I'm getting the yellow dude since that's the one I have here. Okay, so here I'm switching direction, nothing fancy. Alright, so the colors are fine, and we can use what we did here, the littles, getting a color on top of another. So for example, can be just on the side here of my yellow, and I'm right away getting a green. So yeah, it's my first Copic video, guys. Since I'm getting into it, I definitely want to do a few more. Hoping you're gonna enjoy it. The next one is gonna be an illustration. I've been wanting to do you know, the typical schoolgirl stuff. Actually, I've been doing professional illustration for like 10 to 15 years now, and in that area you do not do much of Japanese or manga universe or topics, you know. It's more like I don't know, for a hospital, for example, or for finding a job, or like a cover magazine about finances and stuff. So now that I have a bit more time between the quarantine and being in Japan, I'm gonna definitely enjoy doing a few of those stuff that I do enjoy personally very much. So, switching colors, I'm getting my orange guy. So basically that's pretty much it for today, guys. So you see the orange, when it gets on the blue, it turns into a kind of dark violet, which is very nice. Alright guys, so we are reaching the end of this video. That was my first tryout with my new Copic dude, and I laid out this little practice from this very nice book. Try to get it from your local shop if they do bring any Japanese stuff, or online obviously. And I finished with the red because I feel that those, yeah, that's the one, those skirts tend to always have a little red. And look how pretty it gets into the yellow one. We have like a very bright red coming. Okay, so I'm gonna definitely use this little checkered pattern to do this schoolgirl. And I think that's pretty much it. Once I'm finished with this pattern, I'm gonna say bye-bye. And I'm hoping you have a lovely day. Spend a good moment in my company, and I'll see you very soon. guys.